Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today is Monday, January 22nd, 2024. We've been a community of good, kind people from all over the world who seek to learn from each other and be together, be a part of each other's lives. Allow Torah to lift us up in moments that are less simple than we'd wish. We were born during the pandemic and have continued for almost 4 years. Thank you, Penny, for reminding us 975 broadcasts. It has been a privilege to be present with all of you and to feel your comfort, friends. Because in these days, it is so important for us to hold each other, to have each other. It is an essential part of being human to be connected. And what a gift it is, friends, to be connected with all of you. And so Amy and Adele, it's good to see you. Amy, Sharon, Linda, let me start at the beginning. Adrian and Joyce, good morning. Dale and Ashley, Cassandra and Debbie, good morning. Hi, Linda. Hope you're well. Deborah sending love to Johnson City, Tennessee. Judy, it is chilly. Brr. Barry and Kim, Lydia and Keith, good morning. Hi, Jerry. Arlene, thank you for your thoughts. Helen and Chana, Nathalia and Deborah, good morning, friends. Let me say a few more hellos and then we'll start with a bracha, learn some Torah. Catherine, sending love to Australia. Heather and Amy, Julie Ann and Sharon, Gail and Nancy, Boker Tov. Jacqueline, good to see you. This is broadcast 975, friends, and we are nearing our 4-year anniversary, which will be March 18th, 2020. To March 18th, 2024. And so here we are right now, marking time in at least 2 ways. 975 consecutive weekday mornings of this beautiful community and 108 straight days of war. So as Valerie says, almost every time I look at my screen, I think of her writing Hineni every morning. Hineni. We are here. Each of us should say, I am here. So just before we sing a blessing for learning, if I could encourage you to take a second, take a breath. Wish a mazel tov to our friend Linda, whose Israeli cousins had a baby just this past Shabbat. Mazal tov to them. Am Yisrael Chai. Caroline, day 1000 looks, I believe, like it will be February 26th. And so let's think about how to mark day 1000. I'm not quite sure what to do. It feels like the most authentic way to mark 1,000 broadcasts is to learn Torah, and for that to be our reward. But perhaps there'll be a chance to make a celebration. Let's all think about that. And at the very least, let's celebrate our steady learning, our steady community, and what it has been to create this, to be here for each other through it all. All right, time for a bracha. Let's take a breath. Torah. Debbie, sending love to Colorado. You say you're getting ready to fly east for a funeral. May you be comforted and may you be guided and supported as you go to do a mitzvah, which is to comfort others and be comforted yourself. Okay, let's start with Torah and we'll talk. This week's Parsha B'Shalach is also known as Shabbat Shirah. It's the Shabbat of song, because during Parshat B'Shalach, during this week's Parsha, we sing the Song of the Sea. It sounds like a good tongue twister. We are journeying with our ancestors. In so many ways, these really complicated weeks and months, we are our ancestors once again, barely escaping, or at least feels that way, and finally achieving modicums of freedom and singing. But the devastation that seems to be necessary for our people to be free is also horribly parallel. I say this with a wounded, resolved heart. The images coming out of Gaza should be incredibly present in our hearts as we commit to fighting for our families' freedom. Both are true. Because when our ancestors reach the far side of the Red Sea that is split for them, they begin to sing. And in the Torah, they sing, and that's the end of it. The women actually textually originally sing, and the men sing too. Even though in the text it's presented as men first. That's a problem of traditional text. Men often get placed first, which is not our conversation today, but it shouldn't be left too far behind. When we emerge on the other side of the sea, we sing. And for the Torah, that's what happens. But for the rabbis, they imagine God's response to our singing. Because if you remember the story, we run through the Red Sea, which is parted so that we can become free. We make it to the other side, and then the waters collapse on the Egyptian terrorists. We call them taskmasters, but they ultimately were physically violent. They were systematically dehumanizing. They saw Israelite lives as meaningless, as tools for what they needed. They objectified our ancestors, enslaving them. There are a lot of words for it, but the parallels are important to remember on an idea level. If you can see someone else as not human, you do things to them. And I will not belabor what for me was an incredibly important and devastating experience, which was on Friday to join elected officials from Westchester and police chiefs and officers from Westchester, where I live, who some of them came with me to Israel on a solidarity mission that the Westchester Jewish Council ran, that I was blessed to accompany. I was there also with interfaith clergy partners who have journeyed with us through the Westchester Jewish Council's organizing and UJA support to Israel and to the American South. And together we bore witness to footage that was assembled from October 7th, from terrorists' body cams and from victims' cell phones and CCTV. I won't describe what I saw. It's not what we're here for. But we are here to say, first of all, we are here. We are here to say we witness. We bear testimony. We will not let our sisters and brothers be forgotten, and we will not let the world turn a blind eye to the atrocity committed by Hamas on Israel. We are here. And what seeing the footage did to me is it further deepened my resolve. It wounded me in a way that will take a long time to recover from, and that is true for everyone who saw it, and much more true for those who've gone through it physically. So we are here. And when we emerge on the other side of the waters, because we will, and when we look back at the painfully necessary devastation of the terrorists who chased us, then and now, there are significant differences, but there are resonances too. The differences are important to understand. We are no longer an enslaved people. We built ourselves into a strong nation that will respond with moral clarity and physical strength. We will defend ourselves and do what we must to bring them home now, on day 108 of this horrible, horrible war not of our choosing. I don't know what victory looks like, but the only thing that I see is our sisters and brothers and babies and grandparents home. That is what we are fighting for. That is what their families are fighting for, camped out outside of the Prime Minister's residence. Israel is working so hard to hold its own heart steady, to rejoin its society as one, and to fight for the release of the hostages. May they be safe. May they be healthy. May they be made whole. May they come home now. And just as Moses and Aaron said this holy sentence to Pharaoh, let our people go. We've been saying bring them home now, but you know that is what it means. Let our people go. And our people include citizens of 33 nations and at least 3 faiths. The terrorists didn't ask, have you fought for peace? The terrorists didn't ask, my friend Vivian Silver, who was murdered in her home on Kibbutz Be'eri, have you in your spare time brought Palestinian civilians to Israeli hospitals to make sure they had the care they deserve because they are all created in the image of God? No one asked. But we have a very big task in front of us. We will fight, and we will emerge stronger, slowly. But how do we talk about Palestinian civilians while we fight, and fight we must, against the deluded people calling for ceasefire? Deluded. While we fight, while we defend our right to fight, and while we respond to ludicrous, blasphemous accusations of genocide, a language coined to describe the Nazi attack on the Jewish world. As we fight for our dignity on every front, let us not fall victim to our own trauma, so that, in the words of Rabbi Sharon Brous, a dear teacher of mine, we don't lose our damn minds. Boy, am I speaking to me, especially after Friday morning, but let us not lose our minds. The Israelite ancestors, whose hearts are ours, as they emerged on the other side of the Red Sea, must have been so traumatized that they looked at dead bodies of the Egyptian terrorists and they started singing, because seeing the end of the terror is an incredible burst of the world just changed in a way that I have been aching for. And I will tell you, I haven't said it until right now, that as soon as the footage was over on Friday morning, the room was just frozen. And I was sitting there with my tallis over my shoulders, the tallis my wife gave me for our wedding, just rocking back and forth, trying to hold warm. And because of the phenomenal guidance of my dear friend Danielle Buten from Afia, I had a scarf with me with just a drop of my wife's perfume on it. And I held my wife close. And she held me through that. And as soon as it was done, I left the room and stumbled for the front door of the synagogue where it was being shown. And a sound came out of me that I've never made. I couldn't try to make. What did that song of the Israelites sound like on the other side of horror? We say it was a song, but what did that song really sound like? They could barely breathe. They'd witnessed not only their own devastation, but then the destruction of Egypt, and then barely made it across the sea while being chased again by the terrorists. What did that song sound like? Have you ever wondered that? What did the Song of the Sea actually sound like? And then think about the rabbis thousands of years later saying, in the name of God, how can you sing when my children have been destroyed? That's the language we have to hear even now. Even now. We do not celebrate in the destruction of any human beings. Fighting this war might be necessary. It is. It might be moral. It is. It is urgent. It is right. It is righteous. This fight for our lives, this fight for our family, this fight for human dignity. I remember sitting with a wounded soldier in Hadassah Ein Kerem Hospital in Jerusalem just a month and a bit ago. And his leg was severely injured. I was sitting with him and with some elected officials. And this soldier crying said, I'm not fighting because I hate anyone. I'm fighting for humanity. It's not just for Israel. I'm fighting for humanity. Did you see what they did to us? Did you see what they were willing to do? And the answer is, now, especially after Friday morning, yes. Yes, we have. And yes, we must fight. But no, we cannot possibly call ourselves children of God if we erase the pain that might be necessary but is also devastating. The fight for a ceasefire that people are conducting right now ignores the acts of terror and the necessary moral response of Israel. But we do not celebrate weapons. We do not want to use force against anyone. That's why the name Tzahal is so important. Israel could have chosen many names for its army, but it chose the language Tzva Hagana LeYisrael, the army for the defense of Israel. The goal is not to hurt anyone. I don't know what happens the day after. I do know that Israel is incredibly present in this discussion. It will have political reverberations. May there be change. It will have military reverberations. May we become strong again. It will have societal reverberations. May we not forget what it is to be unified. May we choose it when it isn't imposed. But in this moment, in this incredibly intense moment, when we are going into Shabbat Shirah, the Shabbat of song, and wondering to ourselves, as we should, what did the song of our ancestors sound like when they finally achieved freedom? It probably didn't sound like joy, not yet. Remember when Moses and Aaron came to tell the Israelites, us, that we would be free? Lo yachlu shamoa otam. They couldn't hear them, mikotze ruach, because their spirit had been shrunk by circumstance. Enslavement took their breath away, took our breath away. How do you sing when you can't breathe? Our goal, friends, should be to remember, as I often say at the beginning of our broadcasts, to breathe. How can you make a blessing if you can't breathe? How can you remain human if you can't breathe? And so, friends, we will fight for the right to breathe, but we have to remind ourselves the entire time, again quoting Rabbi Brous, not to lose our damn minds. Because with every breath we are blessed to take in and let out. We are bringing more of God's essence into our souls, And in so doing, we are reminding ourselves what it is to be human in response to even horror. To be human sometimes is to fight, but it never is to enjoy hurting. We are fighting because we must, not because we want to. This is not a war we chose, but we will end it. People sometimes misunderstand my work. I founded a group called Rabbis Against Gun Violence after the Sandy Hook massacre in 2012. And they think that there's a naivete involved in fighting against the epidemic of gun violence in America. But what they don't understand, and what I will make clear right now, is that there's an ethical use of power that is sometimes necessary. But the ethical use of power is what we have to hold on to, which is to never become abusive because of our power. We will fight. We'll fight on cultural levels. We will fight for our children on campus. We will fight for our justice to be recognized at the International Court in The Hague. We will fight in the streets of Gaza if we must. We will be safe. We will be strong. We will live. The important part for right now is to remember to sing, which begins with remembering how to breathe. May we see every human as we fight to be seen and treated as human. That's the big lesson today. When we say Am Yisrael Chai, I want our hearts to live, not just our bodies. It begins with our bodies, but it also begins with our souls. We were given the gift of freedom, la'avod et Hashem. If you read last week's Parsha closely, Parshat Bo has a language that Moses brought to Pharaoh just around the plague of locusts, Shlach et ami v'ya'avduni. Not set them free, and that's the end of the sentence, set them free so that they can be holy. They can be self-determining and further a vision of universal dignity and peace. We are here to be human. We will demand that the world treat us as such, and we will work hard to retain that in our souls as we fight to bring them home now. Let's end with Hatikva, friends, and then let's keep fighting. Fighting for our breath, fighting for our hearts, fighting for our souls, and yes, fighting for our lives. All of it. All of it, all of it. Let's sing, friends. Let's really sing. First breathe, then sing. Kol hod balevav pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ולפתי מזרח קדימה עין לציון צופיה עוד לא עמדה תקוותנו התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. להיות עם חופשי בארצנו, ארץ ציון וירושלים. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow.